Even before Game of Thrones aired on HBO and blended the line between realism and fantasy, dragons rocked the cinematic and television world for ages. From The Hobbit, Smaug to Dragonstorm, from Transformers, dragons of all shapes, sizes, and kinds have mesmerized us with their fire-breathing abilities.
That, my lad, was a dragon.
While some dragons may be tamed and trained by the masters, others act on free will to get what they want. In this video, we will explore the 8 deadliest and fiercest dragons that ever walked the screens. Before we begin, please consider subscribing to our channel. It's a small click from you, but goes a long way for us. Number 1. Dragonstorm from Transformers: The Last Knight, 2017. In 484 AD, the war between the Brits and Saxons was at its peak, and the odds were against King Arthur. Amidst these dark times, Merlin traveled to the Knights of Iacon, a group of Transformer knights, who had taken refuge on Earth. They agree to help Merlin and the knights transform into a mighty dragon called Dragonstorm, which turns the tide of the battle, and the course of history. However, the Knights of Iacon hand Merlin a staff and ask him to protect it because one day, a great evil would come for it.
Protect this staff. One day a great evil will come for it.
And, that day came 14 centuries later when Optimus Prime returned to Earth and led the Knights and Autobots to save humanity from the evil Quintessa and Decepticons.
Let those who exist long after us know that this was our finest hour.
Like other mythological dragons, this three-headed robotic dragon breathed fire and was a force to reckon with. The mighty Autobot called Dragonstorm is one of the fiercest Autobots there is. It's the mighty Gestalt form of the legendary knights called the Knights of Iacon, who had dedicated their lives to oppose Quintessa and save humanity from her wrath. In 484 CE, the Knight Storm Rain had commanded the other knights to merge together and form Dragonstorm, which helped the Brits win the war. Henceforth, the legend of Dragonstorm was believed to be a myth, until the knights reawakened and formed Dragonstorm to fight the Decepticons and Quintessa. It was created on an Autobot ship and flew against a rain of enemy weapon fire to assail into the Cybertron section that housed Quintessa's chamber. It could fly through space and long distances because, at the end of the film, Dragonstorm flew away to its homeworld along with other Autobots. Number 2, Smaug from The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, 2013. Peter Jackson's film revolves around the 13 dwarves led by Thorin, Gandalf, and Bilbo Baggins, and their journey to the Lonely Mountain to steal something precious from the dragon Smaug. However, their journey is filled with several deathly and terrifying creatures like orcs and giant spiders. Even if they manage to escape these hellish beings, they are yet to walk into the chambers of the cunning and ferocious Smaug, who has a great stomach for deception and plans to destroy Lake Town and its people.
My teeth are swords. My wings are a hurricane.
Few know that it was the Sorcerer Supreme Benedict Cumberbatch who voiced the Smaug and interpreted it with performance capture. Smaug was a full-grown dragon, who possessed immense physical strength and could breathe relentless streams of molten vapor and fire through his nostrils and mouth. Despite his monstrous size and weight, he could easily leap over objects and could dive at lightning-fast speeds with trivial effort. But what made Smaug worse than a dastardly beast was that he was cunning with a dangerously sharp mind and keen senses. Smaug was clearly the greediest dragon with an unquenchable thirst for gold. It looks like he was a mix of Targaryens and Lannisters from Game of Thrones. And like these great houses, it was Smaug's unyielding arrogance that ultimately led to his death. Number 3, Hungarian Horntail from Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, 2005. The Hungarian Horntail was the dragon that fell in Harry's lap for the first task of the Triwizard Tournament, in which Harry had to retrieve a golden egg that the dragon was protecting. It was imperative that Harry retrieved the egg because the clue for the next task was hidden inside the egg.
These are seriously misunderstood creatures.
Hungarian Horntail had black-scaled and a reptilian appearance, with yellow eyes and vertical pupils like that of a feline animal. Its bronze horns and spikes protruded out from its tail, which the dragon uses in combat and gets its name from. Although Horntails are known to breathe fire up to 20 feet, the one that Harry encountered could breathe fire up to 50 feet. As seen in the film, the Horntail's fiery breath could turn a stone red hot in seconds. While all dragons are considered ferocious beasts, the Hungarian Horntail had a reputation for being quite aggressive and vicious, even by dragon standards. Furthermore, the dragon had exceptional flight capabilities. This was noticeable from the way it pursued Harry, who was on a firebolt broomstick, a fine piece of work that reaches 0 to 150 miles an hour in less than 10 seconds. It was able to maneuver quickly and swiftly despite its long and heavy body. Watching it glide after Harry was nothing less than eye candy. Number 4. Vermithrax pejorative from Dragon Slayer, 1981.
What are you saying? You want the dragon back?
The film revolves around a dragon named Vermithrax pejorative, who devoured virgin girls twice a year in lieu of sparing the lives of the people of Erland, a fictional medieval town. The kingdom would select these unfortunate girls by way of lottery, but this lottery was rigged, and the king would exclude the names of all those children whose families were rich enough to bribe the king. Naturally, the princess was also safe being offered to Vermithrax pejorative because of this corrupt lottery system. However, the princess was righteous, and upon learning the truth, she rigged the process so that only her name would come up in the lottery. Amidst these circumstances, the king took help from a young man who was brave enough to attempt to slay the dragon. Vermithrax was as monstrous as she was vicious, but her nasty temper and personality could be attributed to her old age, as she was more than 4 centuries old. Due to aging, her scales had begun to rot, and it had started to take a toll on her mood, making her violent and unpredictable. At some point in time, she was impregnated by a wandering dragon and gave birth to 3 dragonettes, whom she loved dearly. When the protagonist, Galen, killed the dragonettes, she resolved to rain fire on him and anything that moved. Interestingly, the dragon Vermithrax pejorative is one of the personal favorites of George R.R. Martin, and several names from the film bear resemblance with the Game of Thrones series, most important of them being Caitlin Clarke's character of Valyrian and John Hallam's character of Tyrion. Number 5. King Ghidorah from Godzilla. When eco-terrorists managed to awaken the 3-headed ancient superspecies called King Ghidorah, a cryptozoological agency named Monarch and its members take a challenging, dangerous, and heroic path to face an array of god-sized beings, which include the mighty Godzilla. King Ghidorah awakens the other such superspecies, who follow it as their king, but Godzilla wouldn't have it, and the two of them get into a fight for supremacy, but this great war puts humanity's very existence into a matter of chance. This monstrous minion of hell was huger than the mighty Godzilla himself, and its bat-like wings spanned hundreds of meters. All the phalanges ended in blade tips that could fire bolts of electricity. Apart from flying, King Ghidorah could also stand and run on a bipedal stance to an acceptable degree. Furthermore, its twin tails are adorned with spiked bludgeons that can serve as a potent weapon and rattle to intimidate the opponent. For anyone who has watched the film, it is not difficult to figure out that all the 3 heads have certain similarities and differences. While they all have a crowned head and crocodile-like jaws, forked tongue, etc., they differ in character and display of malice. The middle head is the most cunning and seems to be sadistic. King Ghidorah is probably the fiercest of all cinematic dragons, solely because it is motivated by a desire to rain terror and kill anything that isn't himself. Number 6. Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon franchise. Toothless was a night fury dragon found by a young Viking boy named Hiccup, whose people considered dragons to be their primary enemies. With time, Toothless proved that dragons and humans could coexist in harmony and peace. It wasn't before long that Toothless and Hiccup would go on numerous adventures, all the while protecting each other from dragons and humans alike.
He's challenging the Alpha to protect you!
Toothless is a strategist and a thinker, which makes him the most intelligent dragon of the franchise, yet, he possesses a dark sense of humor.
What is wrong with you? Bad dragon!
But he's extremely protective of his friends, especially Hiccup, and can go to any lengths to ensure his safety. However, Toothless also understands many human emotions like love and embarrassment. I mean, he played Cupid in the first film and took the couple on a romantic flight. Yet, Toothless is a force to reckon with because his unmatched fury can take down practically any dragon his size, and he can hold his ground against god-sized dragons like Red Death from the first film and Bewilderbeast from the second. Additionally, he's the Ferrari of dragons and can travel at supersonic speed. Apart from traditional dragon-like features, Toothless possesses other abilities like echolocation, stealth, heightened senses, etc. As far as his fiery breath is concerned, he can several forms of fire and plasma blast, which are strong enough to take down alpha dragons like Red Death with a single blast. Number 7. Armin from I Am Dragon, 2015.
They had death where the sky should have been.
Princess Mira was betrothed to Igor, but she gets abducted by a dragon during the wedding ceremony and is taken to a cave as a captive, where she meets a man who initially seemed to be another captive. Because he couldn't remember his name, Mira named him Armin.
Nice to meet you, Armin. I'm Mira.
However, she soon learns that Armin was, in fact, a shape-shifting dragon who lost control over himself in dragon form. It wasn't before long that the two of them fell in love, but Mira's life could be endangered at any given point because of the man she loved. Armin is one of the more unique cinematic dragons, one who was given a choice as a teen to spend the rest of his life as a dragon or human. Although Armin chose the human life, his rage and grief turned him into a dragon when his father was killed by a dragon slayer. Since then, he's been failing to control his involuntary transformation into a dragon, and the fury that comes along with it. Armin has been living on the remote island, which was once home to male dragons who would bring brides and sacrifice them by burning them alive, and from their ashes would infant male dragons be born. This gives a phoenix vibes, doesn't it? Nevertheless, Armin realized that dragons were indeed monstrous, therefore, he would lock himself in the cave just before turning into a dragon and would remain there until he returned to his human form. Naturally, despite having a dark side, Armin is essentially a good dragon, and would go to any lengths to protect those around him. Interestingly, Armin's situation bears uncanny resemblances with certain werewolves, specifically Professor Remus Lupin from Harry Potter. Number 8, Drogon from Game of Thrones. Named after Khal Drogo, this massive beast belonged to the Daenerys Stormborn, the mother of dragons. Drogon was the closest ally in her quest to take control of the 7 kingdoms of Westeros. Drogon came to her as an egg along with his brothers Viserion and Rhaegal and grew up to become the largest of all. The black and red dragon with orange eyes became Daenerys' personal mount and her greatest weapon, but more than that, he was still her child and cared deeply for her. His journey from the size of a kitten to that of a whale was filled with many obstacles and challenges, but together with his brothers and mother, he came out victorious each time. Although the least shy in human interaction, the dragon is the most aggressive of all and loves a well-done barbecue, be it the slave masters, sheep, or the lords of Westeros. It's often said that dragons are feral beasts without any sense or sensibilities. Drogon proved that this was nothing more than myth and displayed intelligence, empathy, etc., throughout the show. Now that House of Dragons is set to release this year, fans of House Targaryen and dragons have a chance to relive the glory they once experienced. The show will serve as a prequel to the original and is based on Martin's 2018 novel Fire and Blood. That was all in this video. Which dragon do you think was the fiercest?